My name is Catherine Vale, and I was the family disappointment. At least, that's what my younger sister Lena liked to remind everyone, especially when she had an audience. The last time she did it, we were at her company's cocktail party on the rooftop of some downtown high-rise. She wore a tight black dress, all elegance and ambition, and I stood in the corner with a ginger ale in hand, wearing a simple blue blouse and slacks that had seen better days. "Catherine fixes microwaves," Lena said, smiling wide, loud enough for her colleagues to hear. "Well, not just microwaves, also air fryers, blenders, toasters. Whatever's broken, she can unscrew it." People laughed. I didn't. I've been called worse. I've had quieter insults cut deeper. But something about the way she said it, like I was a joke, a punchline, hit me different that night. I was just about to leave when the double doors swung open, and in walked Marla Kingsley, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the region. She scanned the room briefly, then her eyes landed on me. And to everyone's surprise, including my sisters, she smiled and said, loud and clear, "Catherine, I was hoping I'd see you here." Lena went silent. The room did too. And in that moment, I realized, sometimes your reputation walks into the room before you ever have to say a word. I wasn't always the family disappointment. Once upon a time, I was the shining star, the one with the top grades, the college scholarship, the law school admission letter pinned to the fridge like a trophy. Our parents were proud. Lena, back then, still had braces and wide eyes that followed me everywhere. She used to say, "I want to be just like you." That didn't last long. When I was 22, everything cracked. It started with Mom getting sick. Dad tried to hide how serious it was, but I knew. I deferred my first semester at law school to stay home and help. Then Mom passed, quietly, like she'd just slipped away. And suddenly, I wasn't a future attorney anymore. I was the one folding hospital bills and cooking frozen dinners for a father who'd forgotten how to speak. Lena didn't handle it well. She threw herself into school, into dance, into pretending everything was normal. I didn't blame her. We were just two girls trying to survive in a house that echoed. I never did go back to law school. The scholarship expired. I got a job at a front desk to pay the utilities. And when Dad's grief turned into drinking, and the house started to fall apart, leaky faucets, short circuits, broken AC, I did what I had to do. I learned how to fix things. You'd be surprised how empowering it feels to hold a voltage tester and figure out what's wrong with something no one else can make work. I watched videos, I read manuals, I made mistakes and burned out 2 hairdryers before I got it right. But eventually, fixing things stopped being just about the house. It became my livelihood. I left the front desk job and opened a repair service. Just me, a secondhand workbench, and a big blue Vale Fixes It sign I painted myself. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And every time I handed back a working toaster to an elderly woman who didn't want to buy a new one, I felt something law school never gave me: peace. But our family didn't see it that way. At Thanksgiving dinners, I was the other daughter, the one who fixed wires and appliances, while Lena dazzled everyone with her job and corporate strategy, her sleek outfits, her perfect LinkedIn page. She worked for Marla Kingsley, the kind of boss who made headlines. Lena talked about Marla like she was royalty. I didn't mind being invisible at those dinners, but Lena, she made it hard to stay invisible. She'd say things like, "At least I didn't waste my degree tightening screws," or, "Some of us have clients who don't live in retirement homes." She said them with a smile, the kind that dares you to react so she can call you sensitive. I didn't bite. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that over the years, I'd quietly grown a client base. One of them, through a third-party logistics partner, had a name I recognized: MK Tech Systems. That's right, Marla's company. They sent us busted devices from their warehouse team. No one from the top ever contacted me directly, but the pay was solid, the work steady. It helped me save up, helped me upgrade equipment, helped me hire a part-time assistant. I never bragged, never name-dropped. I just kept fixing what was broken. But the more I stood still, the faster Lena sprinted ahead, at least in appearances. She posted about conferences, promotions, her perfect boss babe life. And the more she climbed, the smaller she seemed to think I'd become. And I let her think that. Because I learned a long time ago, when someone wants to look down on you, correcting them isn't your job. Time has a way of straightening out perspective better than any argument ever will. I just didn't realize how quickly that lesson would come knocking. The thing about quiet success is that no one really notices it. Not at first. My shop wasn't flashy. It was tucked between a laundromat and a tailor in a faded brick building on the east side of town. The sign out front was hand-painted and a little chipped from the weather. Inside, the floor squeaked and the coffee was always lukewarm. But it was mine. I built it up piece by piece, literally. I refurbished shelves, installed my own lighting, even wired in extra outlets when I started handling more industrial repairs. People came in for broken remotes and left with stories. I got to know their names, their grandkids, the way their lives paused when something stopped working. I never advertised much. Word just spread. And somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing myself as a failure. I woke up, worked with my hands, paid my bills. I didn't owe anyone anything, not a boss, not a committee, not a parent asking when I'd go back to real work. I fixed things that mattered to people. Heirloom radios, grandmother's fans. One client brought in a coffee machine her husband had used every morning before he passed. She cried when I gave it back running like new. Not because of the machine, because it brought something back she thought was gone. That meant something to me. And on the back end, through a logistics partner, we began getting bigger contracts. Bulk batches of malfunctioning units, mostly from distribution centers. We never got names, just codes, invoices, serial numbers. Then one day, while filing away a service order, I noticed something stamped on a delivery slip. MK Tech Systems. I stared at it for a long time. Marla Kingsley's company. I hadn't realized that our little operation had ended up supporting her supply chain. It wasn't direct. We were likely the subcontractor of a subcontractor. But the devices kept coming. We fixed them on time, with precision, and they kept paying. I never told Lena, not because I was hiding it, but because it didn't matter to her. Nothing I did ever mattered to her, unless she could belittle it. Meanwhile, she was rising fast. Promotions, panels, podcasts. She became one of those people who gave career advice on LinkedIn like she'd invented ambition. I saw her in an online article once, smiling in front of a skyline titled, "Women to Watch in Tech." I watched her all right. I watched her forget where we came from. Sometimes I wondered if she remembered that I was the one who taught her how to set up her first laptop, that I stayed up late reading financial aid forms so she could apply to college, that I took a job I didn't want so she wouldn't have to drop out when Dad lost his insurance. But that's the thing about memory. People only keep the parts that make them feel proud, or powerful. And the older I got, the more I stopped needing anyone's version of the truth but my own. I had employees now, 2 part-timers. A retired electrician named Sam and a high school kid named Miles, who wanted to learn. I paid them well. I paid them on time. They respected me. And I ran my little shop with the kind of pride Lena wouldn't understand. We were never in the same room for long anymore. Family holidays became smaller. Our dad moved to Arizona and stopped asking questions. I sent him birthday cards. He sent back photos of sunsets and quiet. We were all just drifting. So when Lena called one afternoon and said, "You should come to our company's cocktail mixer. It'll be fun," I was surprised. I asked, "Why me?" She laughed. "Why not? You never come to these things. It's time you met some people who might inspire you to level up a bit." That should have been the first red flag, but I said yes, not because I needed her validation, but because I had a feeling that time was about to straighten out some perspectives, and I was ready to let it. I showed up 10 minutes early. Lena's company had rented the rooftop of an upscale downtown building, the kind of place with string lights, imported wines, and glass panels instead of rails, so you could see the whole city twinkling beneath your heels. People floated around in expensive suits and sharp heels, laughing with the kind of practiced ease that comes from networking more than living. I wore a navy dress I'd had for years, clean, simple, nothing flashy. I did my makeup the way I always did, just enough to look awake. I brought a small gift bag for Lena, with some locally made coffee she liked when we were younger. A peace offering, maybe, or maybe just a habit I hadn't let go of yet. When I walked in, she didn't notice me at first. She was surrounded, her voice the loudest in the group, hands animated, posture perfect. I stood off to the side, sipping club soda, watching her perform. Eventually, she spotted me. "Catherine," she said, drawing attention. "You came!" Heads turned, and that's when I felt it, that pause. That moment when a room evaluates someone and files them under not important. Lena gestured toward me. "Everyone, this is my sister. She's in hardware repair?" The way she said it, it was soft, but deliberate, like she was tossing me a label and daring me to correct it. I smiled. "I run a repair and refurbishment shop, yes." One of her coworkers blinked. "Like, for computers?" "Among other things," Lena laughed. "She's being modest. She can fix just about anything with a plug." Then to her friend, "She's like a walking warranty." People chuckled. I didn't. I nodded, still smiling. There was a sharp edge in my chest, but I kept it buried. Lena wasn't finished. She turned to a man in a gray blazer. "Ben, remember I told you about my sister? She's the one who fixed Mom's old blender instead of letting her upgrade. I swear, Catherine would rather fight technology than embrace it." More laughs. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Not because I didn't have a comeback, but because nothing I said would change anything. Not in that moment. So I turned toward the table, pretending to study the hors d'oeuvres. That's when the elevator chimed. The rooftop went quieter. Not silent, but still. A shift in atmosphere. Out stepped Marla Kingsley. She wore a burgundy pantsuit, hair slicked back, face unreadable. She had that presence, that energy that made people stand straighter when she walked in. People cleared a path instinctively. She didn't pause, didn't scan the crowd for Lena. She walked straight toward me. "Catherine," she said, holding out her hand. "I didn't expect to see you here." I shook it, firmly. "Neither did I," I replied. Lena's voice behind me cracked. You two know each other?" Marla turned. "Your sister is the reason your logistics team has been able to maintain a 97% equipment turnaround. You've been using her services for 2 years. I assumed you knew." The silence that followed was exquisite. Lena blinked. I thought that was a third-party contractor." "It is," Marla said. "But Catherine's shop is the one they sub to. She's solved problems your team couldn't even diagnose." She turned back to me. "We've never met in person, but your work speaks volumes." "Thank you," I said, my voice calm. People around us shifted. No more forced laughs, no more small talk. Lena stood still, eyes wide, lips slightly parted. I didn't rub it in, didn't gloat, just offered a polite smile. Because I wasn't there to win. I was there to witness the moment the truth walked into the room, wearing a pantsuit and a name badge. Marla excused herself to greet others, and I turned back toward the snack table. My ginger ale hadn't even warmed in my hand. Lena approached slowly, her voice lower now. "Why didn't you say anything?" I looked at her, really looked at her. Would it have made a difference? She didn't answer, and for once, that was enough. After that moment, something in the room shifted. Not just for Lena, for everyone. People who had ignored me earlier now approached with cautious curiosity. They asked about my shop, the kind of work I did, how I got started. I answered simply, without embellishment. The truth didn't need decoration. It just needed space to stand on its own. Marla passed by again later, this time with a drink in hand and a quieter tone. "You've got a good eye," she said. "I've looked at your diagnostics. Your team solves things our engineers give up on." "I appreciate that," I said. "I have good people." She smiled, then leaned in slightly. "I value precision. And loyalty. If you ever want to skip the middleman, let me know." She handed me a card, sleek and embossed. I tucked it into my purse without looking at it. "I'll think about it." She nodded and walked on. Lena stood about 10 feet away, watching. When I made eye contact with her, she didn't look away this time. I walked over slowly. No point in dragging it out. She was gripping the rim of her wineglass like it was anchoring her. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "I know," I replied. She searched my face, maybe looking for anger, or forgiveness, or an opening. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," she added. "Yes, you did," I said. "Not harsh, just factual. You just didn't expect it to backfire." She flinched a little. I let the silence stretch. "Look," she said. "I've worked hard to get where I am. You dropped everything and just settled. I didn't understand it." "No," I said calmly. "You didn't look closely enough to try." She blinked. "I didn't settle," I added. "I rebuilt." She swallowed hard. "I guess I always thought you gave up." I nodded. "A lot of people did. That's the luxury of distance." I didn't say it to hurt her. I said it because it was the truth. Sometimes people build their stories about you around the pieces that serve them best. And when you grow in silence, it confuses them. It threatens their version of how the world is supposed to work. Lena glanced around, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did you come tonight? To prove something?" I actually laughed. Just once, quiet and short. "No, I came because you asked." She looked down. I didn't press her. She was already carrying enough embarrassment for both of us. And honestly, I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. "Catherine," she said, "I really am sorry." I nodded. "Good. Now do better." She nodded slowly. I could see the gears turning. Whether she'd change or not, that was her journey, not mine. I said goodbye a little while later. No dramatic exit, no parting shot, just a quiet farewell. As I rode the elevator down, I thought about Marla's card. I still hadn't looked at it. I didn't need it to mean anything more than it already had. Because that night wasn't about opportunity or exposure or vindication. It was about balance. About watching the scale tilt back to where it should have been all along. People say revenge is sweet. But this wasn't revenge. It was just truth. Undeniable, unpolished, and overdue. And sometimes that's more powerful than anything else. I didn't take Marla's job offer. I still have the card. It's in a drawer in my shop, tucked beneath a stack of receipts and old instruction manuals. Every now and then I look at it, not because I regret saying no, but because it reminds me that I didn't need to be discovered to matter. Some people climb ladders, others build solid ground. I chose the ground. My shop is still running, busier now. The exposure helped, sure. A few new clients came in because of the party, and word spread a little further. But that's not what I hold on to. What stays with me are the quiet wins. The 80-year-old man who brings me his late wife's antique mixer and thanks me with tears in his eyes. The single mom whose only laptop I managed to bring back to life before her online midterms. The teenage assistant I hired last summer who now wants to start his own repair truck. That's the legacy I care about. Lena and I talk more now, carefully, not like before. Not like sisters who braid each other's hair and share secrets, but like people who are trying, people who've seen each other clearly for the first time and are still learning what that means. She hasn't mocked me since. Sometimes she even asks for advice. Small things, like budgeting, or how to fix her thermostat. I answer, not because I need her validation, but because I've let go of needing anything from her at all. What I've learned, more than anything, is that respect doesn't arrive with applause. It comes in the quiet after people finally stop talking long enough to listen. I never raised my voice. I never corrected the room. I never shouted, "Look at me!" But when the moment came and truth walked through the door, I didn't flinch. And neither did my worth. Because it was never missing, just underestimated. So if anyone ever asks what I do, I tell them the truth. I fix what's broken. And I don't just mean appliances.